Namaste Yogins and welcome back. This is Yogi Doug Johnson with another YIN class for you. And today I wanted to share my mixed bag sequence. So the mixed bag is a combination of hips and spine, so it works both. And this is essentially the essence of YIN practice, is working the hips and the low back. So this combines all of that. But what's unique about this sequence of my sequences is it works them independently and complementary. So at the beginning of each set, we do something maybe for the hips or the spine. And then the second posture in the set, the different posture, will take advantage of what we did in the first part. So this is unique for my sequences. Very often when we're working hips and spine, we work them together, which can make it more challenging. The trade-off is the holds are going to be a little bit shorter, so they're 3 minutes, which I know is plenty for many people, but I love the Yin Yoga 5-minute hold, which I like to call the gold standard. So anyway, Yogins, I hope you really enjoy this sequence as much as I enjoy teaching it. And if you do, please give me the old thumbs up. That really helps me out. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And then if you enjoy this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel or join my Patreon page as a patron. Anyway, let me know what you think and enjoy the class. Thank you. Let's get right into our practice. We start today, as we do in many Yin sequences, with the right leg straight, the left foot on the inside of the thigh. This is called the half butterfly. And we will come forward and down in a nice relaxed way. And what we'd like to feel is a stretch in the back of our right thigh. Now, if this feels a little intense, feel free to use props. You could put a block under your forehead, 2 blocks under your forearms, a block under your left knee. You could also use a bolster or sit on a blanket, block, or bolster to push you forward more aggressively. What we'd like to feel is a stretch on the back of the right thigh. You might also feel a little stretch in one side of your back, and that's perfectly fine. You notice that I am not grabbing my foot and pulling myself down, as this can actually be dangerous over the long term. So try and just let your upper body relax. You might even try turning your palms up to avoid the temptation of grabbing your foot or your leg. We'll be here for about 2 more minutes. Inhaling and bringing yourself up. Let's switch legs. Left leg is the straight one. The right foot comes to the inside of the thigh. And then we fold just directly over the leg. We want to feel the hamstring stretch. The hamstrings are the 4 muscles on the back of the thigh. Again, we may also feel it in our back, but the main target in this first posture is going to be the muscles in the thigh, the hamstrings. There are 2 things you want to verify in every yin posture. One is that you feel a sense of safety, that you do not feel like you are asking your body to do more than it can safely do. This is different than comfort. A pose can be very effective and therapeutic, and yet be quite uncomfortable at the same time. The other thing you want to verify is that you do feel the stretch, in this case on the back of the left thigh. If you don't feel that, then while the pose might be safe, it will not be effective. We'll be for a total of 3 minutes, and we're about halfway through. Okay, we have one more posture in this set, and that is the caterpillar pose. So we'll take both legs straight now. Don't worry about flexing your foot or your feet. You can just let them relax. If it feels better to flex them, you can of course do that. Also, please let your back round. You might have done forward folds in the past in yoga where you're trying to keep your spine straight. There's a reason for that, but in this sequence there's also a reason to let the back round. This will allow the stress to gently go into your spine, which will actually help to make your spine healthier and stronger and more flexible in the future. So once again, just relaxing forward and down into what we call caterpillar pose in yin yoga. You may have noticed a few things here. One is you likely do not feel the same stretch in the back of your thighs as you did in the last 2 poses.
This is perfectly normal, to be expected, and actually means that the pose is working as we would like it to. We'd like to feel the stress of this posture instead of in our thighs. We'd like to feel it in our low back. Very, very gently. Having said that, it's unlikely that the sensations in your low back are going to even come close to the level of intensity as you felt in the back of your leg in the last pose. So again, this is to be expected, and we need to be sure that we don't try and pull ourselves down trying to match that level of sensation that we felt in the legs with our back, because again, that could actually be dangerous. So just relax, let your back round, and trust that the posture is having a beneficial effect on your body. Less than a minute left here. We'll inhale coming up, and then exhale as we gradually make our way into a relaxed position on our back. What in Yin Yoga we refer to as a Pentacle pose. In Pentacle, for a few moments, you just want to close your eyes, still your body, and allow yourself to feel the different sensations, emotions, and thoughts that arise in this moment. Creating a safe and loving space in which all of these things can arise without judgment, without fear. Then, drawing the legs in, try moving a little bit, maybe making circles with your knees, or rocking side to side, or forward and back. Maybe kicking the legs, all with the intention of bringing a sense of relief and balance from the last set of postures. Once you sense that you've done that, slide your hands under your hips and extend your legs straight up toward the ceiling. Now, if there's any pain in your back, you'll bend your knees until that pain goes away. Otherwise, keep the legs straight. Lift the head and neck. Take a nice deep breath, and as you exhale, gradually lower the legs toward the ground. Just before they reach the ground, pause. Inhale, pop the legs up, and exhale, let the weight of the legs pull you up to a seat. This is called hinging up. Once you have hinged up, turn to face the long side of your mat. Take the legs out straight and wide. Now, if you are a little bit tighter in the hips and the legs, you might find that this happens to you. You feel like you're being pulled backward. If that should happen, there are two things you can try. Sitting on something like a yoga block, or simply bending the knees until you can tilt forward more easily. Once you feel that you are tilting forward, turn toward your left foot. Reach down and grab hold of the foot, or use a strap over the foot. Now, when I say hold the foot, I'm not telling you to pull or to yank yourself into the pose, rather just to hold yourself in position. Once you've done that, check and see if you feel a stretch here in your right waist. If you do, just stay right where you are. If you do not, then begin to roll or stack your right shoulder over your left until you find the sweet spot where there is at least some stretching in the waist or the ribs on the right side. This posture requires a little more effort than the first set of postures did. In that respect, it's a little more yang and a little less yin. As my yin teacher, Paul Grilly, taught me, yin and yang are not absolutes, but are relative to one another. So there is no absolute yin pose or absolute yang pose. Everything happens on a continuum, from yin to yang. So within a yin class, some postures will require more effort and be more yang. Others will require less effort and be more yin. This is also true in, say, a vinyasa yoga class. Just a little over a minute left here. Please take your time, gradually making your way to the other side. This is called half dragonfly. And today we're using the half dragonfly to stretch our obliques and to work the side of the spine. You also may have noticed a stretch here in the groin or adductor muscles. And this is the area that we will be targeting next. As I said, in this sequence, I've used the first part of each set to try and complement the stretch that we'll be doing in the second part of the set. About a minute left here. At this point in a pose, it can sometimes be helpful to just check in, notice what has changed, if anything, and to make adjustments if necessary. In general, in yin yoga, if we don't need to move, we'd prefer not to. Having said that, you may often find that movement is either necessary or can actually enhance what you're doing. So never be afraid to adjust or move if necessary. Again, we have one more posture in this set, which is the full frog. So, coming to hands and knees, take the knees as wide as they will go. You can stay on your forearms, or stay on your hands rather, come down to your forearms. Some people can actually lay on their chest or belly, or you can prop yourself up on a bolster. Feel free to pad your forearms if you are on a hard surface, practicing on a hard surface. Your feet can flex or point. They can be closer together or further apart. Your hips can be over the knees or pressed back closer to the heels. Choose what you're going to do based on the feedback that you feel from your body. Remember that we want the posture to feel both safe and we want to feel a very specific stretch, in this case in the inside of our thighs, what are called adductors or groin. This is one of my personal favorite postures, but many people find this a very challenging posture to hold, especially for minutes at a time. Again, if it actually feels unsafe, that is important to come out of the posture if that's the case. However, if it's simply uncomfortable, please remember that many things in life that are uncomfortable, many situations, are actually beneficial for us. As long as we are relatively healthy, then this stretch is going to be beneficial for us, even if it is uncomfortable. We have about a minute left here. Okay, gradually coming out of that pose, I recommend either child pose, resting your hips back to your heels, if that is comfortable for you, or you can come to lay flat on your belly in what's called crocodile pose. With the next inhalation, let's come back up into a tabletop position. And we'll do a little bit of what's called the marauding bear, also known as bear pose. We begin moving the torso around in various ways, shrugging the shoulders, moving the head and neck, maybe bending the arms, undulating and doing barrel rolls. The intention again is to be more yang than yin, because yang balances yin. We're about halfway through our set, and as wonderful as yin postures are, if we do too many yin postures, just yin postures, then we run the risk of getting out of balance. So a little bit of movement here is a good idea for our body. Then from there you can tuck the toes and lift the hips, coming into a downward dog. And in down dog we walk the dog out. Again, this is a yang pose, an active, dynamic posture, not meant to be held still in a yin class. So pedaling back and forth, stretching the back of the calf and leg, or rolling over the toes, circling the ankles a few times, and possibly even kicking the legs and stretching the hips and the waist. From here, let's inhale the right leg up and back, and we will exhale as we bring our right knee toward our right wrist for sleeping swan. Sleeping swan should be felt here in the glutes and the outside of the hip. These are our biggest and strongest muscles in our body. Very large complex of muscles, 10 muscles in total. You can stay upright if you prefer, but many people prefer to come down onto their forearms. Once again, this is a rather complex shape, and you have quite a few variations that are possible. The right foot could be flexed or pointed. It could be closer to your left hip or pulled further closer to the front of your mat. The right knee can point straight ahead or out to the right at an angle, what's called abduction. The hips could be squared, as I have mine, but they could also rock over to the right or to the left, which might increase the stretch or decrease the strain on the knee. Once again, feel free to rest your forehead on a block or some kind of support. You could also put a block underneath the right hip. Again, if you're new to Yin Yoga, you might be wondering which position is the right one, which is the most advanced, which is the best. And the answer is there is no absolute right, best, or most advanced. Because human bodies vary so much in their makeup, what is best, right, and most advanced for one practitioner could be ineffective and unsafe for another practitioner. This is why you want to take the instructions that I give and experiment with them with your own body, noting how your body responds to the different variations, what feels safest, what gives you the best stretch. And please remember that more is not always better. Deeper or further is not always better. To transition to the other side, you might try tabletop or down dog. Gradually bringing the left leg forward. And again, targeting the outside of the left hip. The area that tends to give students the most trouble in this posture will be the knee on the active side. So on this side, that would be the left knee or the left ankle. If those areas are not in pain or feel unsafe, then chances are the pose is safe. Again, it may not be effective unless you feel the stretch in your left hip. Gradually transitioning out of that posture and then coming forward onto your belly and propping yourself up on the elbows. This is called Sphinx, and it's a back bend. In Sphinx, we'd like to feel a little bit of gentle compression in our back and perhaps a stretch along the front side of our abdomen. If you feel that on your elbows, then go no further. However, if you do not, then you can try bringing your hands a little wider and straightening your arms for what we call a seal pose. Alternatively, you can try propping your elbows up on a bolster or 2 blocks, which I like to call the lazy person's seal pose. If in seal you don't feel anything, then you can walk your hands back, going even further into the back bend. Unlike forward bends in yin yoga, very often in back bends, we can be quite aggressive and actually enhance the effect of the yin postures rather than interfering with them. In some of the forward folds, if we're not careful and we're too aggressive, we can actually interfere with what my teacher Paul Grilly calls the yin effect. In either pose, the legs can be together or apart, the shoulder depressed or relaxed, the head held up, dropped forward, or dropped back. Again, when trying to decide which variation to do, let the feedback from your body guide you. With your next exhalation, gradually lowering back down onto your belly, resting one hand over the other in crocodile pose, Makarasana. Take a few breaths and just feel the back. You might feel some sensitivity or vulnerability back there. And from a yin perspective, this is not a bad thing, as long as it is temporary. Then, while still laying on your belly, extend your arms to the side, bend both knees, and just let your feet drop from side to side. Feel the hips rock, and notice how that releases the tension that you might feel in your low back. Then, extending the legs back out, take your left leg and draw it up alongside you. It could be either straight or bent. Prop your head up on your right hand and elbow, as I've done. Take the right leg and move it back away from the left leg. And then bend the knee, reach back, and grab the foot. Pull the heel in towards your buttocks. This is called cattail, and you should feel a stretch at the front of your right thigh. If you do not, try pulling the foot in more aggressively, or bringing the left leg closer to your chest or straightening that leg. If, on the other hand, it's a little too intense, then try bending the left knee or dropping that knee away from your chest and belly. You can keep your head propped up on your hand, but alternatively, you can rest it on the upper part of your arm, on a block, a blanket, or even on the ground. Today we're emphasizing the twist in this pose, so leaving your pelvis facing the ground while leaning back as much as you can with your left shoulder toward the ground deepens the twist and the back bend. The final thing to look at with cattail is whether you're choosing to pull your right foot in towards your buttocks, or while still holding the foot, choose to kick it back behind you, kind of like bow or dancer pose. This can change where the stretch is felt at the front of the thigh and also potentially deepen the twist and back bend element of cattail. Okay, gradually coming back onto your belly. Rest for a moment and just feel both sides of your body, especially the front of the thighs. See if you can feel a difference or a change between the side that we were just stretching versus the other side. And then go ahead and take the right leg up this time. Prop your head up on your left hand and elbow, at least to start. You can change that in a minute. Bring the left leg back as much as you can, and then bend the knee and pull the foot in towards your buttocks for cattail. Some days we emphasize the effect on the lower part of the body more in this posture, but today we are again emphasizing the effect in the upper body, which is the twist and back bend, especially the twist today. This is our only twist in today's class. So laying back and really trying to let that right shoulder come toward the ground without moving the pelvis. We're about halfway through. Okay, so unwinding again back onto your back, or sorry, onto your belly. We have one last posture left in today's class, and this might be the most challenging posture for many, and I'll try and remind everybody that challenging often means most challenging often means most rewarding. It's not always the case. Sometimes things are simply challenging and we don't get much from it. But often in yoga and in exercise and in self-development, the thing that is most challenging, that is most difficult, is the very thing that is going to bring us the most benefit. So this posture may very well be like that for you. If for some reason this is not safe, then repeat the back bend where you're propped up on your elbows, what's called Sphinx or seal, okay? So from laying on your belly, you press back to a kneeling position. You can sit on your heels, you can sit between your heels, or you can sit on a block that is between the heels. If the knees hurt, sit on a block or try bringing your knees wider, okay? Your feet can point back behind you, or you can have the feet point out to the side. Again, different body types will feel more or less comfortable with different positions. I happen to be able to do both, but not everybody can. Not safely anyway. Once you have found the safe position for your feet and knees, I'll just mention one last thing for the feet, which is if your feet hurt, then sometimes padding them with a blanket will be the key to making the feet feel more comfortable. This is not really meant to be uncomfortable for your feet or ankles. So go ahead and pad them, roll something up like a blanket if necessary, and give them some extra padding. Now, once your feet and knees are happy, relatively speaking, see if you feel a stretch at the front of your thighs. If you do, then I'd like you to just stay seated here. This might not seem very exciting or particularly difficult, and it may not be, but this stretch in the front of your thighs is already very, very beneficial for your health. If you don't feel a stretch, then what I'd like you to do is begin to lower back, perhaps to your hands, and then maybe to the elbows, onto a bolster or some kind of support. The crown of your head also can work, or all the way back onto your back as I've done. And this is called full saddle pose. Now today we usually use saddle pose to target the low back, and you may very well feel it there. That's a very beneficial stress for your sacroiliac joint and for your low lumbar spine. At least potentially it is. Again, if you are relatively healthy, then that's going to be very beneficial. If you already have damage in your spine or your back or your SI joint, which many people do, unfortunately, then it could actually aggravate things or make things worse. So again, you need to take a lot of care when practicing yoga and make sure that if you're feeling some kind of discomfort or pain, that that is actually safe and beneficial for you to feel. Today, however, instead of targeting the back, we're thinking of this more as a quad stretch, so stretching the front of our thighs. Most people will feel that here, but some more flexible students may find it challenging. Playing around again with whether the feet are pointed back or out to the side, whether you're sitting on or between your heels, or sometimes even using a prop to lift the hips up and intensify the stretch might be necessary for some students. Another thing you can try is actually strapping the legs together so they don't go wider. As I said earlier, oftentimes knees wider is less strain on the thighs and knees. So for people who have difficulty doing this, knees wider. For people who don't really feel much of anything, then knees closer can be effective. Additionally, taking your tailbone up toward your sternum, the pubic bone up toward your sternum, tucking your tailbone and pointing it toward the ceiling can create more stretch in the front of the thighs as well. Please take your time gradually unwinding from that posture, and then once again relax on your back in what we call the Pentacle pose. Then, after rebounding, bring your legs in and do a little counter stretch. We call this the leg cradle. When counter stretching, very often variety is the key, so not necessarily simply doing the same movements over and over again, although you can do that, but trying different things out, seeing how they affect the different parts of your body. And then once you've stretched out, go ahead and unwind into Pentacle pose. Your legs splay apart comfortably. Arms can be out to the sides in a T, a Y, or a W position, straight or bent. The head is centered, the chin is tucked in slightly, and the eyes are closed. Please take the next few minutes to relax in stillness on your back.
Okay, yogins, I really hope you enjoyed that. And if you did, again, please give me the old thumbs up. That really helps me out. Subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content, yoga and spiritual related content. And then finally, if you have a question, let me know in the comments below. And I'd love you to comment and let me know what was your favorite pose in today's class. Which pose did you enjoy the most? All right. So until next time, Namaste and thank you.